Right? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
all of this has been stuff that would have been right up Wes's alley.
Yeah.
Sorry, I appreciate y'all.
No,
okay.
we just miss you, man. We're happy to see you.
Well, thank you. But I do appreciate y'all be willing to accommodate my ass not being able to stay up as late anymore. An hour early. That's really cool.
So that Wes, you can use this too with your heart. So now, since claiming that my blood pressure was high, now every time my wife asks me to do something, I'm like, I don't know, I've got high blood pressure, my love.
Yep.
Oh man, the best way
I'll give you high blood pressure.
I've found the best way to have people not ask you to do stuff is that they'll ask you once and be like, "Yeah, man, cool, I'll do it," and then fuck it up.
Right.
Don't do it right. Do not have a successful. No, you got to fuck it up. Fuck it up. Fuck it up good, and then they'll
never ask you again. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, when the first time a motherfucker unloads the dishwasher and there's a bunch of bullshit on the sit, you're talking about you done clean the dishes. Then the next time the motherfucker wants the dishwasher done, I mean, they might want you to do it, but they'll be like, "Man, I really got to have clean plates," and so they'll do it. Just wash your own plate and set it aside.
Right.
I don't really suggest doing that in the household. That's the way to piss your fucking other off. But
that's referred to as weaponized incompetence.
Yes,
the official term.
I've had many managers weaponize incompetence.
I did it at Waffle House. I used to wait tables there years and years and years ago.
So that's where you learn to fight, right?
Well, no. I learned to fight because I went to public school and Little Rock is kind of well known to have a lot of idiots. We have them. We have all flavors and they look so many different ways. But we have the most diverse idiot population on the planet. I believe we've got a little bit of everybody, So pretty proud to say that. But no. Anyway, they motherfuckers would be stealing. They get in the cash register and steal, and then everybody that touched the cash register would get blamed, or looked at sternly. And so that happened to me once. And every time after that they try to get me to touch that thing, they had a little key on it, XYZ, whatever. I'd turn that key and start pushing buttons. Shit would start printing out,
Just go nuts.
Yeah,
sounds like you hit jackpot in Vegas.
Yeah, and they'd sit there and they'd try to tell you how to do it, walk step by step, and just fuck it up. Just fuck it up. Turn the key and push button. He's like, turn the key. I'm like, man, it's there. It's like you start the car. What? But yeah, they quit asking me to work the cash register. Just saying.
All right.
Wow.
Welcome back, Wes.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to Deep Night Revelation. We're going to be picking up where we left off last week. This has been a weaving and winding road. So the overall of this is that they're ultimately aboard Deep Night. There were two, maybe three, two for sure, top-notch, at the top of the food chain, black marketeers. One was Albryn Moss, and the other one is Carlos Mirakaru. And Albryn Moss ended up dead and stuffed into one of the crawl spaces, along with most of his sortie of junk that he's been selling. And so, bartering, probably bartering's a better word. But anyways, so he's dead. Back of his head caved in. They did their investigations. They interviewed a number of people. They also discovered that most of the crew is mentally and somewhat emotionally kind of fucked up. They this 5.5 years that these guys have been out on this journey so far has taken its toll on the crew, and that has manifested in a number of ways. Rex Delvon is insisting on keeping a memorial museum and she has a penchant for taking some of the personal items from crew members who are deceased, but it doesn't occur to her that those items that she's taking weren't really theirs. They were issued to them by the ship. And so it's gotten her a little bit into... she's had a talking to a number of times over this. But these guys came up with the solution of that they will make her essentially the ship's historian, the living historian. And so at first she didn't think that was going to work, but they sold it in a well enough way, which means that they made their admin rolls and they dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's on the paperwork. And the captain and the first officer were like, yeah, that sounds like a good job. Good idea for her. She was a pilot, and she never crashed anything, but she wasn't really that great of a pilot. So they didn't really use her that often because of that. And so this was a good fit for her. They discovered a couple of other things. Ambre Guinevere has some anger issues, and her performance has been slipping over the past couple of years. And so they I forget what it was that you guys... Oh, no, you guys put her in charge of... essentially like
a brainstorming team.
Yes,
to think about, to come up with to think up problems we may encounter in the future and ways to resolve them before we ever do.
Yes, and
so we can be proactive.
So essentially, they got to meet a number of the crew, and in their investigations, finally, of course, these guys. Used 31st century tactics, and they checked all the video footage. They have forensics teams looking over things, and a number of things came out. And the first one was that a lot of the cameras and electronics are showing signs that they were tampered with, but not. It's a hard way for them to determine that it was tampered with. It's very subtle, but it's not the normal brute force hacking that one might expect. The other thing that finally came up is that one of their members, I believe it was Enrique Delgatti, he went through and found DNA that matches Zhodani DNA. Now, it would be easy to see how that would have slipped past some of the forensic scientists or other teams. Zhodani DNA, Villani DNA, Soleimani DNA are all very, very similar because you're all human. But there are little tweaked variances that make you what you are. And he discovered that. And so...
we asked him not to share that.
Right, he hasn't shared that information. And so these guys have...
Were you all aware that we have truth serum?
The problem is that we were... Right, this has all been rather rapid. We just found that out, and then we walked down the hall and walked into our current situation.
So they're in a weight room, a recreation weight room, on the port side of Deck 2 of the mission module. And... I assume that Bocephus and Pappy is with them, unless you guys want to be somewhere else.
I'm with them. I assume I'm done being down in the hot tub area.
I would assume. I mean, you would have been in there for quite some time. You're going to be turning pruny here pretty soon.
You don't know what I'm into.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind being with them. You know, I mean, if we have been investigating,
it would be really nice if you were.
Yeah.
So, of course, Sarda wouldn't really be able to say this out loud without causing some. It would cause more problems than solve them. So they went in here. They took 2 security personnel and the security advisor, Lieutenant Major Jana Arecchio, with them. Jana and the 2 security guards are armed with stunners. And I believe Sarda and Mel are also armed with stunners. I don't know how Bocephus and Pappy want to be armed. If you want stunners, that is certainly available to you.
We're investigating a murder?
Yes, and Sarda's reasoning for this is that, originally they were going to be carrying the Security 12 shotguns that Security usually carries.
Yeah, originally the security team that we had back, because originally I'm going, well, I don't want to carry a weapon to go interview somebody, but I'd like to have security team be outside that I can call if something happens.
Right.
And then we see the way the security team shows up, and all they've got are these 12 gauge shotguns, and you're going, really? You guys don't have stunners? You don't have
right.
It's like you're going to shoot them with a shotgun?
So, yeah, and this was an oversight of Deepnight Revelation, is that the campaign book doesn't even list that they have stunners available, which I find odd.
I'm willing to free up stunners for other people. I'm going to carry my gauze pistol just on a holster on my side.
Okay.
Because, if anyone asks, well, isn't that a little over thing? It's like, well, if I shoot somebody, I can patch them up.
Yes, right, yes.
And I'll have my medical supplies with me, stuff, and I'll have my truth serum with us, because if we're investigating.
Let me go ahead and I'll just do
this. And an assortment of hallucinogens.
I always have hallucinogens.
Yeah, you never know when a hallucinogen is going to come in handy.
I know, that's good. That's just for good shit mental health. As a shit counselor, I insist that I will get people stoned. That's the best way to bring down stress, is make them see fairy tales.
Sure. Okay, I'll buy that.
Yeah.
Not one lick of disagreement here.
Yeah. If they're questioning what is real or not,
you're on a strange alien ship and now you're tripping balls.
Yeah. So you're really trying to put everything together. If you're, that's an inquisitive mind, trying to put stuff together rather than, a mind that's reminiscing of home and homesick and missing, So, I got to give them something to look forward to instead of things to look back at.
Right.
Makes total sense until you think about it.
So where we left off, they had suspected that she was, she is who they're thinking, and come to find out, so Sarda tried to do surface thoughts. Read surface thoughts.
Yeah, she actually, before that even happened, it's likely that she tried to do the same to me.
Yeah, they both tried to do each other, and the problem is that with scions, telepathically trained scions, they automatically have a mental shield, and so the two of them sat there and gave each other a bloody nose trying to read each other's thoughts, and came up blank. And so they both know each other's secret.
Yeah, I didn't notice that she was frustrated, but somebody else made that.
Yeah, Mel noticed that her facial changed. Her facial expression changed.
But Sarda's oblivious. He doesn't realize that she tried to. But then I got her shield, so now I'm in that awkward situation where I don't know how to let Bocephus know this is a.
So
scion.
That is, you don't want to say that out loud for obvious reasons. Especially with the security advisor standing right next to you. This also led to a lot of in the background chatter amongst our group about why Zhodani are the way they are and why are psionics illegal in the Imperium, and so I gave a quick synopsis of the psionic suppressions and all of that, and essentially what it boils down to is it's a lot like the Red Scare in the 50s. Them telling you that everybody you see could be a communist. Well, it's the same thing during the psionic suppressions. Every person you see could be psionic, and that's a danger to your mental privacy, and these psionic institutes that are operating, we're just going to make up a number, and, they're funded by Zhodani terrorists, and etc. Whether or not any of that was true, I'm sure some of it was probably true.
They're reading the minds of civilians, creating databases to blackmail information.
Exactly. I mean, all manner of likely bullshit. I'm sure that some of it was true, but not enough to warrant the suppressions that took place for the next 20 years. And like there were the Soleimani Special Forces guys, psionic commandos, held off the Imperial Navy for something like 26 years, and it was just a really screwed up time. And because of the suppressions, that mindset has stayed in the collective conscious of the average Imperial citizen ever since. And most worlds do have a legality issue with psionics or using psionics openly, kind of thing, because they realize that it's nigh impossible to check every person, and not to mention the fact that most of the technology for doing so would be in its infancy, and so yeah, there's a whole lot going on there, but so that's where we left off. So before we get started, we'd like to thank Fred of the Greenwater Guildhall. None of these are sponsorships or partnerships of any kind. They're just products that we really like. Tonight, we'd like to thank Fable Beard Company. Fable Beard makes wonderful beard products such as oils, balms, butters, beard wash, co-wash. They've got all-natural deodorant, spray-on colognes. They have a line for the ladies under the FableBeauty.com label, or address, rather. And all of their scents, whether Fable Beard Co. or Fable Beauty, all of their scents are essentially based on fantasy characters. And for instance, tonight I am wearing the Hero Beard Balm. It smells of a very light cologne. I believe they list it as like a warm amber with a light pipe tobacco. I don't really catch much of the pipe tobacco. It is it's a very light cologne. It's quite nice. But they have a number of different scents and products, so I recommend checking out their site. They do have a buy one, get one free for new accounts. And so if you go to FableBeardCo.com and create an account, you can put 2 beard oils into your cart, and you'll get that second one for free. I believe it also works with other products, so you could put a beard balm into your account and a beard oil, and they'll discount the beard oil to free. So go do some shopping and get some beard stuff. Or, maybe think about it in the future. Start growing a beard in a couple of weeks. Go check them out. We also have a merch store via Zazzle. We've got all sorts of stuff on there. The newest product on there is the official Greenwater Guildhall Whiskey Rocks glass. We also have a beer stein that actually works really well as a super huge coffee mug. There are t-shirts and buttons and hoodies, and there's a fleece blanket in 3 different sizes, and wall poster maps, and all sorts of stuff. And it's hard. I try to come up with new ideas of, that would be really cool to have, and a lot of times my brain fails me towards that end of the imagination market. But then every once in a while, something will happen, like the Whiskey Rocks glass, and because I broke my favorite one, and was in the business of wanting to purchase another one, so I just went ahead and had one made. And so, that's why we don't have such a run of new stuff. I've been wanting to get stuff up for Deepnight Revelation. That's difficult due to copyright issues and things of that nature. So. And the fact that I'm just not seeing the color schemes that I like, so I'm still working on that. But maybe
I do like the stein. It's nice. I got one.
Nice.
We'll probably get some Deepnight Revelation gear, up before we get back to chartered space.
Yes, sometime within the next 24 years of game time, we'll have something up for you.
You got a murderer on board. I mean, what the fuck? Are you worried about gear? What the hell?
So she, Sarda, make a recon plus intellect check. Holy shit. Okay. Well, 1 + 1 + 1. Yeah, that indeed is 3.
That's not very good.
Yeah, Sarda went
I'm still a little stunned. It's the first time I've run into a psychic barrier other than Bocephus's, so...
Right. So she, so she looks at Sarda, and all she says is, "So, where do we go from here, Commander?"
I think we just need to have a private conversation about what you or whoever it was that went out on the ship did during that run.
Before y'all have any kind of a conversation, perhaps I could give her some truth serum, and that way the conversation could be honest.
So, well, hold on here. So she says she looks around the room and she says, "Well, this isn't very. There's a lot of people here for a private conversation."
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
And oh, that's pretty good.
But we suspect her of killing a motherfucker, right?
No, we suspect that she's probably the one that exited the ship right before it went into ship jump, ran across the ship's hull, and then went in another airlock. And that's all we believe she may have done. But that may be tied to the fact that that's because she was the murderer.
Why did she do that?
I am guessing that she is actually a Zhodani, and she was probably trying to kill somebody who discovered that.
So
Okay.
this is and I made the roll, and I made a random choice. It is Pappy. And
Awesome.
I did all of this before I really thought this through.
Are you killing me? Is that what's happening now?
No, but
Gonna scan. You see scanners?
Yeah.
so the reason this is difficult is that she just did a read surface thoughts on Pappy.
Did she catch me imagining her naked?
Maybe. So for Wes and Pappy, I should probably tell you. So this girl, her name's Maia, or supposedly her name is Maia Arrich, and she is an expert in EVA. So anything that has to do with her having to go outside and leave the ship in a spacesuit or down on some rock ball airless asteroid. She's the one that would generally be the first in line, and she was an expert at that. And there has been absolutely no real there's been no evidence that would point in the direction that she's maybe a Zhodani spy or that she had any reason to kill Albrin Moss. I mean, that just simply hasn't come up until all avenues pointed to her. So my question is, what are Pappy's surface thoughts? I mean, maybe you are imagining her naked.
I mean, my surface thoughts, I'm just going, like you guys said, hey, you done walking around? We need you over here. So I'm like, I'm coming along. I don't know all the details because I wasn't there when they found out that stuff, right?
That's true. So you might be thinking about
her naked.
Possibly, as well as what you had heard down in the jacuzzi.
And her naked.
Well, she was naked. So you didn't have to use your imagination too hard for that. No random rolls on that one. So, yeah, I suppose that's probably true. So
I'm probably thinking about that conversation, though. I am thinking about that conversation with the occasional flash, like, and then back to that conversation.
Right. And so she would have picked up a bit of that conversation. And what that, if I remember correctly, that was mostly about David Andreich, the space wizard, was having a conversation with Niam McCabe. Niam McCabe, aside from Bocephus and Sarda, Niam McCabe is the only other crew member that has had an encounter with the Deepnight entity, which is why she's aboard. Really, when it comes down to it, she's not really, all that fantastic at really anything. I mean, I guess you could say that she is your general all-around spacer, which is kind of what her job was before. But somehow, like Ellen Ripley in the Aliens movies, she was the only survivor of her crew, and that is really what secured her a seat on board. And she has a passion for making sure that hazardous EVA protocols are adhered to. UV light in the airlocks, and the fact that fire cleanses everything, and that kind of stuff. And so her conversation with David Andreich, to him, he had the enlightenment that perhaps there was some knowledge to be gleaned from a direct contact with the entity. And that essentially what he is suggesting would be that he would only want to do this, if he knew that Dr. Bocephus and the medical crew aboard Revelation had come up with some kind of cure. He has to be guaranteed of an out on this, or else, because everybody knows what the end result of this is. I mean, you get zombified, and then you're basically turned into fungal mulch. So,
we burn you. We burn you.
Yes, right. Yes, burning compost. And so, he's not that he's wanting to do this. It's a theory that he has that maybe, and the other part of that conversation, if I remember, it also had to do with, was his name Troyavusk, the droid, who essentially did just that, but he had his psionics to essentially hold back the entity and keep it under control. There's been no sign that Andreich is psionic in any way, and so he is a sorcerer, not a wizard. He's a sorcerer, but that hasn't really proven to be either here or there, because essentially he can't perform his tricks when anybody's watching, evidently. Yet tricks he does perform. There are things that can't be answered about him. So maybe, it's just something he's knocking around. So that would be on Pappy's surface thoughts. Everybody else, including Pappy, you can all roll another Recon plus Intellect check.
Just averaging out the die rolls there.
So much little real estate. Hold on, I'm getting there.
So you all got it. So Pappy and Mel, again, you see a kind of a very subtle change in her facial expression. But it's hard to tell if you weren't, now that you're kind of looking for it, now you're noticing it. Same with Bocephus. You can't quite tell what this change is. It's very subtle. Sarda, however, you note the subtle facial change is almost one of revulsion, disgust. And she, and you know,
I don't know what she's discussing about. Yeah. Okay, well, I mean, if Pappy got the 11, it would have been far better. But
Yes.
but I don't know what Pappy's thinking. So
And so yeah,
Now-
she's looking back in that back corner, and she's that.
There's an awful lot of psionic shit going on in here right now with multiple people trying surface thoughts and all that.
yeah,
Yeah, you haven't tried yet.
there's
Well,
now
no,
been
but-
there's been 4 uses of psionics.
Yes.
I'm rather well versed in the psionic sciences, and I was wanting to know if I could make a roll.
That's
that
right.
Perhaps I could see the signs of telltale signs. Maybe small muscle tightens and stuff of people
Well,
Ass
you-
clenchings.
using.
He definitely knows my tells because he's the one that taught me how to do it.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, you guys are kind of learning off of each other's in the absence of academies. Yeah. Let's see.
He's got ranks in psionics. Let him use them. He doesn't ever get to use them ever.
That's true.
Well, I mean, I'm just right now just trying to go on my knowledge.
Yeah, you've had those since character creation, man.
Yeah.
Might as well dust them off.
I've
So-
got psychologies. I've got the scion ecology.
That's true. So why
Yeah.
don't you make a scientology? That's a scientology plus intellect or education, your choice.
Okay, let's see what happens here. What happens if I roll a 13?
Wow. Okay. So yes, it is clear to you that. I mean, obviously, like Sarda said, you know his tells. It's obvious to you that he's doing something. It's obvious to you that she's doing something. Pappy looks completely, baffled. He's just still sucking on his e-cigar. But you are clear that Sarda and Maia are using some kind of psionics. Your guess, with a 13, your guess would be telepathy.
I think, if we're going to have a conversation, this is Bocephus saying, I think if we're going to have a conversation due to the fact that, there's people died and we need to get to the bottom of it, I would just like to give Mariah a true serum and we have a quick conversation about what transpired before we go too far, and let's just see if we can uncover things.
So Maia interrupts and she says, if we're going to have a private conversation.
I didn't say private.
She says, if we were to have a private conversation, we're 5.5 years out and however many thousands of parsecs.
Oh.
If we were to have a private conversation, you don't even really need to use truth serum on me. She's like, she looks at you. She says, where am I gonna go?
I hear you, and I thoroughly understand. But look, this is just standard protocols. Don't take it personally. This is
Your
not
standard protocols to dose somebody with sodium pentothal and then ask them.
Well, I am the ship's counselor, and I'm just thinking, and the ship's lead doctor. I could pull all kinds of, medical officer. I'm just going to give you this true serum here. Well, I'm going to ask you just a couple of questions. It won't be anything too private, and we'll even afford you the right to say that you can't answer due to the fact it may incriminate you on anything. So you'll, of course, that'll set off a red flag, but it'll give you the chance to provide some anonymity to your own actions in a weird way. But, I must insist, I'm going to give you this true serum. If, I just really hope you don't make it difficult for that to happen. And I'll glance around at all the muscle standing around me.
Well, so are you sending Lieutenant Major Janet Arekia out, or are you allowing her to stay in the room? Because like I said, you got the 2 guards outside. And I mean, there's a lot of people in this room.
I don't mind her saying, player to DM, I'm fixing to slip her a null drug. So, I mean, that's the, you can get your thoughts turning on that, but, I'm going to read her surface thoughts after that. Kind of what I'm going after here.
Okay.
Because, I have ethics, and a forced truth drug is really just out of the line. But a null drug, secretly, it's a secret. It's patient-doctor confidentialities.
Okay.
I'm so used to him dosing people with stuff that truth serum seems pretty harmless.
It
I know,
is,
right?
it is, but
No, I'm just saying that he's been.
Yeah.
Bocephus has ground down any type of resistance.
I give everybody all kinds of shots.
Yeah.
Almost
Like-
like that one
But I'm the
song.
bad guy for wanting to do a little black marketeering.
No, hey,
yeah.
no, nobody said you were the bad guy. I was just giving you
Oh.
opportunities to put yourself in a far better position.
If you wanted to be the black market guy, I mean, I have a private laboratory.
yeah.
If you want to branch into black market clones, you've got a partner.
Yeah.
I am down. Yeah. I've got everybody's DNA. I actually spent a year collecting everybody's DNA on the ship as the ship's doctor.
So let's see here. I need to look at a null drug. And I know what it's supposed to do. Let's see here. So are you talking about an inhibitor?
Yes.
Dampen the brain's ability to generate psychic effects. A user who takes or more often is forcibly injected with an inhibitor drug suffers D-2 to all psi-related checks and cannot regain psi points. Each hour the user may make an endurance check to throw off the effects of the drug. Inhibitor drugs have no effect on non-psionic individuals. And, I mean, this is only a TL9 drug. And I do remember you asking for some of these.
Yeah, I've been on the side markets for over a year now.
Yeah,
Man,
I mean, you got these way back in
Imperial Space.
yeah, well, not Imperial Space, but yeah, before you left Charted Space.
Yeah.
So yeah, make a persuasion plus. Make a. You're kind of playing on her intelligence, so make a persuasion plus intellect check.
Plus what? I'm sorry, you.
Persuasion plus intellect.
Got persuade at 1. But will give me 1. What happens?
Okay.
8.
So she rolls up the sleeves of her duty uniform and sticks her arm out.
And I slap her with an old drug.
Okay. So
You're muted, Sarda.
I know she's gonna shit, and my character's gonna have no idea what's gonna happen here because, as far as I'm concerned, you just gave her truth medicine.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Everybody else is assuming this is
Like-
truth medication or truth serum.
Yeah.
So
Do we really assume he's doing what he said he did?
I mean, Pappy and Sarda have known Bocephus for quite a while. I mean, there's probably always in the back of your minds, like, is it really truth serum, or
Yeah.
did he just give her an 8-ball and?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was expecting one of two things to happen: either it was truth serum, or she was gonna collapse to the floor, and so.
Oh no, I'm not knockout drugging yet.
Yeah.
That is for the private conversation.
So,
Yeah.
so, yeah, that would be all that Sarda. That would worst case scenario. Sarda was expected to collapse to the ground. That was.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't kill her.
You give her the drug, and after maybe a minute, she looks at you. She says, "When is this supposed to start to kick in? I thought that truth serum was going to make me a little, dopey and rummy."
I'm just gonna look at her. She's not carrying any weapons, right, on her.
No, she's not armed.
I go, look, we've got a lot of people here. We don't need the whole. We can narrow down the number of people interviewing her. This is all being recorded.
So do you want to ask? I mean, your obvious first choice would be Lieutenant Major Jana. Do you want to ask her to leave, or
the security? At least the security guys outside.
Yeah, I mean they're outside, and there's a door here that can be shut.
Yeah.
Right at the edge of Bocephus.
if it doesn't seem weird, I would definitely like her to leave. But at the same time, I'm trying to figure out how you explain. Well, yeah, we're gonna obviously need this pilot to be here, but you're the security chief. I don't think you should be
Well,
around.
all four.
Leave.
Well,
I
all
can
four,
leave.
No, I'm not saying that you should.
I mean, the four of you are considered part
Right,
of the
the mission-
command
yeah.
crew. So
yeah.
you know, I mean, if you want to tell the security advisor to wait outside, that's perfectly within your purview. I mean, not to mention, you guys kind of have, aside from just being mission division commanders, you are almost you're almost outside the normal chain of command because you are special missions. Originally, was
Yeah.
the idea for your group.
Okay. Well, yeah. As long as dismissing her doesn't seem unusual, that's really all I was looking for. I don't want it to be insulting or anything like that. I just go, look. We're just gonna casually ask her some questions. I don't think it's gonna be a problem.
Her shield should be down now, right?
So it doesn't say that. It says that she
Yeah.
suffers a -2 to all psi-related checks. She is
And she-
now down
and
to
she-
only a +1, so that's going to put her at a -1.
And she can't naturally regain until she kicks it.
Right. So
So
it's going to put her at a -1, and then she's out of psi points.
yeah, she's been burning side points. So
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna, and so when she's gone, I'll shut the door and I'll just say, so I'm assuming you're the Zhodani that we've detected the DNA of.
And she kind of laughs a little bit, and she says, and she goes, evidently guilty as charged. She says,
That
but
null
nobody.
drug should.
She says, honestly, nobody's more surprised by this than me.
Well, I just gave you a null drug to keep those pesky psionic abilities under control. You'll be staying on those until you're cleared and made trustworthy.
She says, well, I doubt that'll happen. She says, you probably want to know why I killed Mr. Albrin Moss. And she says,
I'm assuming he discovered and was blackmailing you.
She says, oh, I wish it was really that simple. She says, aside from the fact that I feel like he's a piece of shit, and if you've ever met the man and talked to him for longer than 5 minutes, I'm sure that you would feel the same way that I do, especially if you were a woman. She says, but she says the reality is that I'm not really that strong in psionics, and he had some psi drugs, and I needed those psi drugs, and he really made it next to impossible for me to be able to get them, and he kept putting roadblocks in place for me to get them, and so I just had to take them.
What was your reasoning and need to have side drugs, and why would you not come and ask a medical professional for your pharmaceutical enhancement enjoyment?
She laughs. She says, well, notoriously, this ship is from the Imperium, and in the Third Imperium, psionics are illegal, so I wasn't about to go to the chief medical officer and request psi drugs.
The one who's from a race that's notoriously psionic.
Yeah.
Yes, but then, so there are, to the illegality of psionics and the psionic suppressions, that led to the caveats and addendums that came about with the psionic accords. And part of that was, some races can't help it. They're born that way. Bocephus' race, the Chikari, I want to say.
Yep. That's the right. Yeah. Good job.
They, the dolphin people, they are born that way. They have telepathy and psionics initially. And so the agreement through the psionics accords is that they wouldn't be held liable. The same thing could be said, I guess, for Zhodani, except for the fact that Zhodani are humans, and they go about it very differently. They have institutes that test children from time of birth all the way through early adolescence. They test them for psionics. And those that test positively are snatched from their parents and given to a psionic set of parents. And that cast of people, those with psionics, are considered essentially the nobility. They run things. The people that are left over that are non-psionic or are considered the proles. And part of this is there is a division, and I cannot pronounce the name, and I can't exactly think of it. But anyways, and I'm sure I'm going to hear about it in the comments. They are essentially the thought police, and these thought police will walk around or drive around, the city, constantly randomly scanning people's thoughts. And they're essentially scanning for people's thoughts that are unhappy. And it doesn't matter what you're unhappy with. Maybe you don't like your job. Your boss is an asshole. You don't like filling out forms. Whatever it is, they can't have that. And so these people are taken off the street and put into re-education camps and taught to be happy. And sometimes, now of course the Zhodani will tell you that sometimes this is a good thing. If there's something about your life that is making you unhappy, going to the re-education camp, they will train you for a new job. They'll give you to a different boss who isn't an asshole. Whatever it may be that's making you unhappy, you'll be re-educated, and the problem will go away, and your life will be better. The rest of Charted Space doesn't really look at it that way. They think it's a fucking huge violation, and so that is one of the reasons why the Zhodani are looked down on. But she looks at you and she says, "Are any of you Soleimani?" I don't think any of you your characters are from the Soleimani Confederation, are you? You're all from the Third Imperium.
Yes, that's right. Well, yeah, I'm not from Imperial space though. I believe my planet is in the Trojan Reach. I'm not mistaken.
It might be. I thought it was like I'd have to look it up again.
Or maybe the Spinwards Marches. Maybe.
Yeah, I thought it was in the Marches.
Yeah, it's the in the Jewel.
Yeah, so you're part of the Imperium. In fact, Jewel is right there, with their bare ass hanging out in the air, the first ones to get boned if the Zhodani come across that border for the Fifth Frontier, where they are one of the first ones that are, hanging it all out to dry.
Yeah. What does she know about the Zhodani expedition to the fungal entity?
That's a very good question. So the first, before you ask that, she says, she looks around the room, and none of you reply that you're from the Soleimani. She says the Soleimani have this history that is very similar to your own psionic suppressions, and they called it the Red Scare. And she says, I am what during that time period in ancient Soleimani past would have been known as a Manchurian candidate. She says, I was a sleeper agent. And evidently, something triggered me, and I woke up. She says, I don't think I'm fully awake because I don't remember my real name, but I do remember parts of what I'm supposed to be doing here. And part of that is that essentially the Zhodani consulate placed me here and wanted me to join Deepnight Exploration's mission aboard the Revelation to essentially find out what it is that you are up to, and then when I come back, report all of that information and everything that I saw back to the Zhodani consulate. She says, if you think about it, she says, aside from the fact that I killed Albert Moss, me being a secret agent for the Zhodani is really the smaller matter, considering what they wanted me to spy on.
And I mean, you're telling us that your mission is to stay alive and observe and then report.
Essentially, yes.
And that you've not remembered everything you've been programmed to do, such as interfere or sabotage when the time's right. So, I mean, take it or leave it. I mean, you have to understand that while that's reassuring, it's also worrisome that you don't know everything you've been asked to do. Although it's relieving to know that you acknowledge that, because that means Bocephus can maybe help you identify it.
Yeah, she says it scares me a little bit as well. She says it's she says I have been living as as a a member of the imperial regime for so long that to know that I am actually Zhodani was horrifying at first. I am everything that I basically am embodying everything that my programming and everything that the imperial citizens are scared of, and I'm a threat, and that it's horrifying. Essentially, is what she's saying. She says I have kind of learned to live with it.
When did you get awakened to this? What can we? Is there a trigger that we can identify?
So that's the part that really scares her. She says, I don't know. She says, so typically, she says, the way that I was told that these things typically work is that there is some stimuli that is given that will awaken a sleeper agent. And, nobody, it might be a phrase, it could be a psionic command or something, or it could be a sound, it could be anything. She says, I was under the impression that I was never supposed to wake up. I was going to go on this mission, and then when we got back to charted space, I would be picked up, they would awaken me, and then pretty much I would report.
When did you... No, go ahead.
She says, she says, as far as... I don't know what awoke me. She says, all I know is that about 2 weeks before we went into jump this last time, I woke up for some reason. And let me look at where that would have put you. So that would have put you... take a look at this. So that would have put you way back in what was known as the ASM 148 system. And she says, it was about the middle of your missions there when there were some, she says, I was one of the people out on one of the asteroids in the belt trying to crack water for fuel during the solar storms. And she says that it was during that incident where we were all, extremely worried about this massive solar flare and everybody's going to glow in the dark from the radiation. She says, I woke up. Or at least partially so.
Could have been a danger trigger.
She says, I'm wondering if there wasn't something to do with the way the radiation was in that system. Your guess is as good as mine.
All right. Well, we had that one incident where everybody what were those weird space creatures that caused everybody to freak out?
Right.
So I was trying to figure out if it was something like that may have set her off.
We're not supposed to talk about them.
Yeah.
No reason to bring them up.
She agrees with Bocephus. She's absolutely terrified of the of the, I forget their name, but they were the ribbons of rainbow colored light.
Yeah. That's why I was curious if that
giant fucking space dune.
Yeah, that's why I was curious if that's what woke her up.
She said that for some reason at the time that happened, she didn't know why, but she was hiding under a table in the mess hall and wouldn't come out until she knew that they were gone. So she says, knowing what we know now, that it seems to hit psionic people harder, that now makes a lot of sense to me. Which doesn't change the way I feel about them, but you know. So you asked about Zhodani or about the Zhodani's mission.
Yeah, because I knew they were running a parallel mission, and we've been looking for signs of them.
Yeah, and I remember
and-
I remember something about that as well.
See, I come back remembering all that shit.
Yeah, it's pretty
I know,
good,
right?
man.
Yeah.
'Cause I had totally forgotten that shit.
Yeah, see, that's the thing about a stoner, right? Is we sacrifice a short-term memory for an enhanced long-term memory. It's totally scientific, you know, and
Convince me.
sometimes it works out, pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So there were actually two other missions. And she tells you
One was historical, right?
well, one was the Soleimani mission, and nobody's ever heard
Okay.
back from them. I mean, which is not really that surprising since they only left like 10 years ago. And the difference with that mission, because of where the Soleimani were located, they kind of went further rimward and then hung a right, and were heading up on the opposite side of the rift. So they haven't had the difficulty, or wouldn't have had the difficulty that you ran into with having to cross the Great Rift. Potentially, they're already on the other side. Nobody knows what happened to them. Nobody's heard from them. The other one, of course, was the Zhodani, and she tells you, she says, man, you guys in the Imperium, your scout service doesn't even really know what exploration is. So these Zhodani have missions. They've got exploration missions going all over the place. They have a massive, massive exploration mission towards the core, like heading to the center of the Milky Way galaxy. And they have, it's not just a mission like what you're doing here with Deepnight. They're setting up like bases and relays and all sorts of shit along the way. And so,
Yeah, they're doing it right.
they're doing it more like one of the first or second caravans that went up and down the Oregon Trail. They're doing it that way. They're building towns as they go. The other mission, of course, was in the Beyond sectors and, Vanguard and Beyond sectors, and out towards, of course, the direction that you're going. And she says the scouts that went out towards Terminus Point, which is the end goal for Revelation, never returned. She says, but we did find some very dangerous things. The Mavazog are an example. They are very, very deadly intelligent alien sophonts that will eat anything. There are numerous dangers that you guys and I was watching how you guys were choosing to move, and you so narrowly skirted some of these things. Like if you had gone like 5 parsecs in one direction or the other, it's like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to come up with stats for the Mavzog, or what are they gonna run into? Oh my god, they're gonna hit these guys. Nope, they dodged around. So she says, a lot of how far we've made it is really blind luck.
But knowing that we had these dangers that we were skating about and not revealing it to us, even anonymously, some kind of crazy way.
Well, at the time she didn't know
that's
that.
highly irresponsible.
Well, at the time she didn't know that she knew.
She just had all those memories unlocked.
Right.
Right.
According to her.
I think, we should take a moment and discuss things. And maybe let the captain know.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got a real issue here because, I mean, there is a murder. It has to be resolved somehow. And we have another person that knows that there is Zolani DNA. There is a Zolani on board.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Well-
both of them will fit in an airlock.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's not us. I
Right,
mean,
right.
we are not pirates. We are civilized people.
Yeah,
All of us, people as a group, even with all our many races. You know,
Right.
I mean, and the Zhodani are just another variant of the human race. So, I mean, they have a right to try to save all the known universe. I think we ought to talk to the captain, and then just be open that we've got a fucking psi freak on the ship.
telling the captain's a death sentence for her.
Well, not. I mean, not necessarily.
She's murdered a crew member and she's a Zolani.
Yeah.
Which for crew morale, it's just fucked. I mean, if there's it's
well, she's got a wealth of knowledge that has great value to our expedition, and I mean, logically speaking, we want to maintain that. So trying to kill her, man, I mean, we should unlock it and talk to her after we unlock everything, so we can. I mean, if she knows what the fuck is around, we need to communicate.
well,
with
I mean, that would be the solution. I mean, so that in my mind, the two options are we either somehow cover the death and cover the knowledge of the DNA.
Oh, I love a conspiracy.
Or we just turn her in. I mean, I would say it's one or the other. Really, it's got because I don't see that there's a middle option. Really.
What does Mel and Pappy think?
I feel that if I knew more about
I mean,
fucking lore, I might be into it. I
Well-
have a feeling that I'm supposed to not be treating her as a pure bad guy, but all the lore that I've heard is that she's definitely a pure bad guy.
I mean, that would be, from a character standpoint, that would be, of course, that
I mean,
would
she
be
just
what
basically said she was a Nazi to most of the Western world.
it would be what you grew up with, would be that
but-
they're bad guys. But
the-
the reality
big thing is
is
the big thing is that while you may not be prejudiced against her, you know that the crew of the ship will be. And that's the real issue, is that if she's alive and the rumor gets out that there's a Zolani on board, it's going to get crazy. Unless we can claim that the guy that was murdered was the Zolani and find a good reason to have him die, you know, the crew will be completely on edge.
so honestly.
Yeah.
why don't we turn her into a hero in the crew's eyes and say that she killed the guy who was the Zolani?
That's what I'm saying. That is one way to handle this.
We could definitely do that, but then we got the guy.
Yep.
That it is who is it that has uncovered the Zolani presence outside of our crew?
He's
So,
an engineer.
It is well, no, he's a science. He's a astrophysicist, part of the mission crew, mission division, and that would be Enrique Delgatti. He is the one that he's a master mathematician, but other mathematicians and scientists don't like working with him because he doesn't always show his work, and he's sometimes kind of arrogant about it because he can look at somebody else's work and he just sees the answer and he'll point out where they screwed up. And he doesn't mean to
Who's
do
that
it.
guy?
He doesn't mean to do it to be an a-hole. He does it because he can see where the mistakes are made, and they're not going to catch it until much, much later when the entire equation doesn't work.
Damn it, because he's a need too. We need that brain power up in our
Right. But what he's done is simply identified that there is a blood sample that had that DNA.
Right, and the reason that he
has-
originally was wanting to investigate it is because she kind of planted evidence to make it look like he had something to do with it.
And so we could make it look like the guy who got killed was the Zhodani.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
And that kind of gets rid of the crew, worried about the crew gossiping about the issue. That's why I kind of
Basically,
feel like
if we take the dead dude's remains and
space 'em.
cremate them,
or no,
you know,
I'm sure you have a mulch. I'm sure you're mulching that shit.
Yeah,
well,
I mean, you gotta have fertilizer for the aggro.
I don't want other people to be able to test the DNA to verify.
Well, that's true.
And
That's true.
so, you know, I don't want to add them to the mulch.
That's
I
true.
want to say that, you know, we're covering all bases and just burning the shit out of it. And there it is. And then it'll be one of those things where, you know, if anybody really has a problem, the thing is, oh, I didn't know you felt that way. Sorry, it's done. What are they going to do?
I mean,
You know,
we get a little bit of her blood, throw it in with the mulch. Anybody who tests the mulch finds some of that sample, but they don't know whose it's part of.
Yeah, it's
not a bad idea. Now you're thinking like criminals.
Yeah,
we can put some leeches on her,
right. And so
And
I
then,
because I'm kind of feeling that it's all or nothing. It's either, you know, completely out her as a Zhodani and let the captain deal with her and everything else, or the other option is just to completely, you know, because I do recognize that her value as an asset.
Yeah, I don't want to give up the asset.
And so, but I don't see a way to keep that asset and let that rumor exist, or let the murder.
We're gonna have to get on our personal crew. Is what's gonna happen.
What?
I mean, she has to become part of the clique.
Well, she is already a part of Mission Division.
Right. She could be assigned to the Desenex. She does a lot of exterior.
Yeah.
Some things like that. So she could be a
yeah.
crew member of the Desenex.
I mean, look, you know, I don't think we should be stupid and just give her unfettered act to run around.
Oh, I think you need to telepathically probe the living shit out of her and see if you can't possibly find.
That's what I was. Yeah, yeah. I was reading up on different things, and I'm thinking the probe might be a good way to start.
Yeah.
And then if she doesn't really, you know, if it maybe in an assault. A telepathic assault would awaken things. Stress from that, you know, might wake it up the full thing. You know, we'll have our time.
And I'm sure you'll begin cloning her immediately.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna clone her.
You guys said probe the living shit out of her, and I immediately started laughing because did anybody ever watch Third Rock from the Sun? Where they're having the argument about how to get a good brain probe, and, you know, do we always have to go through the butt? John Lithgow goes, everybody knows that the only way to get a good brain scan is to go through the rectum.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, the telepathic, if she'll lower her shields down, I could, you know, go down there and feel about, you know. And see what happens. She could lay down comfortably, and Pappy can video the whole thing.
So, are we in agreement? Is this what we're going to do?
I vote.
And we will never speak of this again.
Yeah, I vote that, you know, we say that her and the deceased, you know, had a close friendship. And she's thoroughly distraught because dude's dead. And she needs to be taken in for therapy and counseling to deal with the mourning of her loss. Blah, blah, blah. She needs to come up in here. But that other dude turned out to be a Zhodani. And she felt fucking terrible because she was, you know, friends with some, you know, she discovered him doing some Zhodani shit. And that's classified. She's not allowed to talk about it anymore.
So when that walk occurred, I know that it exited near where his body was found. But what area of the ship did it begin at?
So it was, and I can show you. This was the better map to use. So this, let's see, where was it? We're down here on deck 2. She went out the airlock here at, or maybe it was Deck 2 of the mission module, walked all the way up and left, or re-entered here. And she can tell you how she did that. She's willing to tell you how she manipulated the machine, or manipulated the computers as well. She says, if we're talking about this, and I'm willing to lay everything on the table.
Oh, that's really good to know, because we plan to learn everything.
So Zhodani talents of psionics have access to some abilities that other psionics don't have.
So the interface with machinery and stuff.
Yeah, one of them is the control ability, so Zhodani, you would have telepathy and awareness and clairvoyance, things like that. Zhodani is its own. And under these, one is called control. The Psion is able to control a machine's functions, overriding fixed settings, programming routines, and so forth. Machines can be switched on or off, and their functions change as long as the device is capable of performing the instruction the Psion gives to it. So there's that. There's also interact. The Psion can sense the flow of data within a machine. This allows the Psion to react more quickly and smoothly to changes in data flow, lowering difficulty of all computer checks the Psion attempts, making them one level easier. So, with interact, it would make hacking much easier, but control in and of itself would allow her to open and close doors, completely bypassing the need for security. And then the last one that is really on top here is interrogate. The Psion can communicate psychically with a machine, determining its physical state of repair, properties, age, programming, and so forth. The Psion effectively reads the psychometric aura that accompanies every device in much the same way an organic aura can be read. And so she can tell if there's something that is malfunctioning, or is working optimally, or is over tolerance, things of that nature.
I'm definitely getting some DNA. We need to run some mini tests on this individual.
So I mean, that's how she got
Papa
out.
Bocephus hasn't raised a kid in a while.
I know. I'm about to get me a baby.
And this one's going to actually be human, and not a giant
hell
walking four-limbed crab thing.
Well, he might further.
Maybe.
I'm gonna make several models and pick my favorite. I've got a lot of strange creatures that do cool stuff.
I've heard crab DNA does well.
Yes. Yeah.
Since we went to go see Alien Romulus, the only Alien movie that my wife had ever seen was the first one, because I have to watch that every Halloween.
It is a great horror film.
Oh, it's fantastic. I would go so far as to say that is a masterpiece, and probably the best thing next to Blade Runner that Ridley Scott's ever done. Having said that,
I would not disagree with you.
Since we were going to go see Romulus, I made her watch all of the other ones as well, and Aliens, of course, I think that's a great action flick. Very good.
Yeah.
Not really on the horror end like the first one, but it was a totally new genre. But then there was Aliens 3 or Alien 3 on the prison planet,
which I kind of liked. It wasn't bad.
I kind of like it. I really wish they would have used practical effects instead of the CGI, because that alien just looks wonky. But anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
And then, of course, there was Alien Resurrection, which I can't even say without laughing, because that one was written by Joss Whedon, and it is terrible. I mean, if it was an episode of Firefly, I would have been able to accept it more than the fact that it was the fourth Alien movie. But, here we are. So yeah, we watched that one, and I won't give any spoilers for Romulus. But I will say Romulus is a really, really, really good movie. I
Good.
thought it was pretty fantastic.
Good.
Nice.
I don't know. I really liked Prometheus, and I know that that's a controversial statement. I liked Prometheus not for it being an alien movie. I liked it for being a hazardous exploration movie. And I even liked Covenant, the first half of Covenant, for the same reason. Finding a weird radio signal that doesn't make any sense, and we're landing on this planet, and oh my god, how is there, human wheat growing on this planet, and them doing all of the exploration stuff. I was like, holy shit, this is Traveler. The second half's a little bit questionable, but it got there.
We should take like an Event Horizon turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Just,
I love Event
I
Horizon.
bet I could murder a whole bunch of crew members before I get caught. And I could get creative.
In my head canon, Event Horizon, another favorite movie of mine, is like a part of Warhammer 40K. I mean, it just fits in there so well, right? But anyways, so yeah, we Alien 4, Alien Resurrection. Now that I can imagine that Bocephus's lab may look a lot like, what is it, Area 1B, where she goes in and finds all the Ripley clones that weren't viable sitting in the tanks, and there's one sitting on a stretcher in the back that the only words it can say are, please kill me, and then instead of killing it properly, what she do, she lights it on fucking fire. Kills it in the worst way possible. Whatever.
But don't forget I've got a monkey.
That's true, you do have a monkey.
Yeah, that I've been training. Yeah, and it's got a clone or two.
You step into his office.
I think of it.
Into his
South
office.
Park.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's from South Park. Oh no, this monkey's only got one ass. I'm gonna have to burn the entire lab.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm not mixing pig and elephant DNA.
Yes.
I'm following the rules.
Haven't you ever heard the song "Pig and Elephant DNA"? Just don't mix. If that's what you guys want to do, you can certainly create.
Well, I want to just make sure that the rest of the group is on board with.
Yeah. I mean,
kinda,
team vote.
Yeah, because if it becomes widely known, we're definitely committing all kinds of treason here,
and we will have to kill the entire crew.
I don't know if that's the case.
And replace them with...
That was not the takeaway.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I can make a full adult in about 2 weeks with the proper roles, and we can learn how to train them. We just have to do it in shifts. We have to, they just don't have to know that we're killing everybody.
Rename the ship the Cygnus, and, they're all androids. They're all very lifelike androids.
Yes.
So
look,
I am with Sarda on this because all the best stories end with, well, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Right. Yes. Right. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. So we're going. All right. So now we need to figure out why you killed him.
So and she tells you that she is, in her opinion, is probably, and maybe this is why they selected her, she's not very powerful in psionics. I will tell you.
I understand that.
She has a total of 5 points.
I am saying that we now need to figure out why
I see what
you would be justified to climb outside the ship, travel to that airlock, and then kill the Zhodani.
Did he ever extort sex out of you?
She says the pig tried everything to extort from me in order to fill my need for psi drugs. She says because I only have 5 psionic points.
And what?
Wow, that's sad. I've got a psionic 10.
I'm sorry. What was Bocephus' question?
Can we see the video?
Yeah, that's actually.
I was the lecturer of the team, but
no. But that tells us that he may have blackmail material that we've not found, and that could mean he's got blackmail material on a lot of people.
That is very possible as well.
And so that's actually, in terms of our investigation, that's something we did not run into. And so that is something we definitely need to look for, because
Have we
That's a good
looked
point.
through all of his shit?
I don't think
extremely
anybody's
hard
even
and
looked through his stateroom.
yeah, we're
Well,
going to have
let's
yeah, at this point we need to shake everything down. But we need to come up with we need to come up with a reason that you would have tracked him down and murdered him. And so
She says, well, knowing what I explained to you about Zhodani psionics, what if he was the one that opened the airlock?
and then died.
Came back this way, and that's
And
when I attacked him.
Oh, so you were hanging out here, even though the camera doesn't show you getting there, whereas it shows him getting there, and it's where he keeps all his shit.
Right.
So,
But he has the ability to manipulate machinery and electronics.
How do we
Well-
know that she went outside the ship other than her telling us that?
she's one of the only people that could make that spacewalk on board the
She
ship.
did a spacewalk in like a quarter of the time that anybody else would. I mean, that's a long ways to go from one airlock to the next.
And she did it within minutes of the ship jumping. And if she'd fucked up or been slow or anything else, she'd have died just doing that, and possibly would have screwed our entire jump bubble.
Right.
So basically, because she's the only person who could do it, we know it's her.
She's the only person that we knew of on the crew that would be good enough to do it and confident enough to try it.
And she's not denying the fact that she did it.
And so it's just very improbable that anyone else did it. And so in my mind, it tells me she's got to have been the one that did it. And
yeah, she tells you the reason that she did it was essentially in an attempt to place her somewhere else without any real evidence that she had to travel there internally. She said it's easier, and anybody with engineering on board the ship, especially one that has your last dry dock, was a while ago, and she says it's easier to explain away a glitch in the system than it is to explain away the fact that I'm on security camera walking to another section, turning around and walking back.
And we don't have
Why
to
don't we explain
necessarily-
it the same way then?
Yeah, we don't have to necessarily tie the spacewalk to the murder. I mean,
Right. The spacewalk was a glitch.
Yeah. Or the spacewalk was an engineer running out there to repair
well,
something.
if that's the case, then we need you to. If that's the case, then you need to resolve this with a very creative autopsy.
I can do that.
Because that guy needs to show up as Zhodani, and you need to make sure that the timeline for his death doesn't match the airwalk.
I could do that. I could definitely.
Then we have an ongoing unsolved murder, or she did it at another time.
No,
Well-
I just falsify the fucking autopsy report to make it whatever we want. And
It was pretty obvious he got bashed in the head, but yeah, I mean, you could, I guess, hypothetically claim something fell. I don't know. It was blunt force trauma to the back of the head, right? That killed him.
Yes, from a
security
baton.
Security baton. That's yeah. And so, if you can come up with a reason that would have that form of injury,
this person had an attack, became unconscious, like a heart attack, fell back on a security baton that they were carrying.
Just happened to accidentally fall and hit himself on my security baton.
Yeah, well, no, the person had this dead person, because I don't remember the name or know the name, had a security baton, we believe, because it was going to attack Maia.
Actually, what we've got a pretty good. I just thought of it pretty good. We could just say, I mean, he was a black marketer. She was making black market purchases. We don't need to go into what those were. You know, he was blackmailing her. He could have forced her to come across the ship to him for a rendezvous, and a fight occurred, and she killed him in self-defense.
Yeah.
You know, that might be easier to sell than the idea of an unknown murderer, because
he tried to force himself on her when she
Right.
wouldn't accept the price.
right,
Yeah.
and
And
so
it turns out that son of a bitch is one of them Zoles.
because that right there, you're going to have enough people to come forward that'll say he was a slimy creep. I'm sure if she complained as a woman, we're going to be able to find a lot of other women that will be able to say that this type of behavior is something they would believe come out of him. You know, so that would be that.
I like
It'll be easy to find those witnesses. It ties up who the hacker was. It ties up who the murderer was. And it ties up who the Zhodani is. So all you need to do is fake make it look like he's the Zhodani and not her.
Yeah,
And-
no problem. Yeah.
And so,
She does tell you, she says, I'm under the impression that since you came here to interview me, I'm under the impression that you haven't searched my stateroom yet. She says, if
No.
you do, the side drugs that I stole from his stash, they were kept in the vials that are normally kept in a first aid kit. I took those vials, and they are stashed in my first aid kit in my stateroom. She says, now, unless, of course, somebody were to test those drugs, I doubt that anybody would be able to tell the difference. The average layman wouldn't be able to tell the difference between an aspirin and an antitoxin pill, but that's where they are if you want to tie up that loose end. She says, I, of course, took them for a reason. I would prefer to keep them. But that, of course, I'm at your mercy as to how much you want me to use my psionics.
It won't work on you right
Nobody
now
needs to know she was
anyway.
taking the psionics because we don't need that information out there. So that's not what she was going
No.
to him for.
right.
Yeah.
No. So the issue is, would you say that he blackmailed you? Would you say he blackmailed you for information that is not commonly known?
Yes.
As a Zhodani, would he have access to information that would not commonly be known? And so could he have possibly been blackmailing you for information that he telepathically stole from your head?
Does she have access to information other people wouldn't?
After
Or that
all,
he
he
Not,
personal, there are all kinds of things you can blackmail people for that you've gotten from their heads.
Fact.
If he is the
It's personal.
Zhodani and he was blackmailing her and forcing her to engage in sexual acts, and she decided to protect herself by hitting him in the head and then decided to flee because she was worried she would be court-martialed for murdering. I mean, we are talking about something that is very believable right now.
she says, the only thing that comes to mind would be that the fact that I am a fairly weak telepath myself, and if he were to probe my thoughts, forcibly,
He's dead. Yeah, he's dead. The guy who's
We're
dead,
trying to write
Oh.
the story.
Yeah,
he's dead. We're going to make it look like he is a Zhodani
right.
who is blackmailing you from information that he
But if
gathered from your...
what she's saying is that if he had found out that she was actually low level telepathic, that would definitely be something.
No
that he
one
would be
needs
able
to know
blackmail.
No one needs to know anybody's telepathic here.
I mean, she has.
Yeah, he discovered
Yeah,
an
right.
embarrassing
No, I see your point.
secret not disclosed.
Yeah, we don't.
No. He
Nobody's
discovered an
telepathic.
embarrassing secret about her past. She doesn't want to disclose. She told us in private. We know what it is. It's not a security issue.
Well, this
No
one
one
time
else
at
needs to know.
EVA camp.
Exactly. She told
Yeah.
the higher ups. They're keeping it under wraps. It's not a security issue. It's done.
And then we need to go inspect his quarters, inspect her quarters.
Right.
Yeah, we need to put her into an induced sleep in the medical part. So she's
Because
not,
because the reality is nobody's going to believe that anybody did that spacewalk except for you. Nobody's going to know how those doors opened or how that baton got checked out.
Well, I mean, if he, so she says part of my training and why I'm so good at EVA has to do partially with muscle memory, and it was from training that I received with the Zhodani Marine Corps and Special Forces. If if we're selling it that he was Zhodani, he could have made that spacewalk himself.
We don't know enough about Zhodani to make that claim. You're telling us new information right now. Us having this information would make us suspect as being Zhodani. We don't know shit about Zhodani.
Nobody knows what Zhodani can do.
They're the boogeymen
Nobody
who
knows
get.
what they could do, though.
And so
We all just know that they're crazy and they can do extra special stuff.
No, it is well known that you can make that spacewalk, and so if he is the Zhodani and he is the one that hacked the computer to open the airlock for you to make that spacewalk, so that he could assault you, that and give you an opportunity to get to hit it that would be what I would claim.
I like it.
Yeah.
Run with it. There's a story.
Sounds great. And then we want to go inspect his quarters and then go to her quarters and confiscate all of her shit because she's being relocated.
Okay.
Due to mental stress. And,
I would have her say that she got the baton herself. It doesn't make sense that he would have checked the baton out for her to have to then beat him to death with.
Right.
It'd be more along the lines of, that he's blackmailing you. You stopped and got the baton just in case. And then sure enough, he assaulted you and you use it to defend yourself. And the cool thing there is that the hack that was used on that database was completely different than the hack that was used on the airlocks. And so it was actually a fake identity that was introduced in that database.
Right.
So,
okay. So I need so first of all, if I get this right, who's going to conduct the investigation of Albryn Moss's stateroom? So
why don't we have?
It's going to be an investigate plus intellect check.
You're going to take her, right, Bocephus? You're going to get her sedated and comfortable.
Yeah, I will take care of that if you guys want to go. I mean,
so then why don't we just the rest of us just take a trip to each of the two rooms?
Right. So who wants to make an investigate plus intellect check for Albryn Moss's stateroom?
Yeah, let's all do that. Let's all check it out.
And I'm taking her to. I'm taking her to the mental health part.
Did worse.
So Sarda, you kind of rummaged.
Anybody else here that has
does anybody else have investigate?
Let me try.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're trying to beat a 6.
Investigate intellect.
There you go.
Hey.
So
might actually find something.
So the three of you toss Albryn Moss's stateroom, and you do come up with a number of things that are questionable. Like I said, or like you had suspected, there are some questionable video recordings on a data crystal or on a wafer. There are a number of black market. There are black market wafers for shit. On the tip of my tongue, I'm spacing out here. Hold on. I know what it is I want, and I know exactly where to go to get it.
He's been dead for a couple days, right?
Yes.
What do you want it to do?
I'm kind of worried that if he's blackmailing people, he may have kill switches set up.
So there are a number of, in addition to normal recordings, you find a number of black market wafers that are on here from a neural com, a neural link, and these are kind of. I'm sorry again, neural jack. So neural jack
skillwares. Right?
Yeah, they're not even skillwares. They are kind of. So anybody who's ever played Cyberpunk, you know what brain dance is?
Sure.
So they're kind of like that, where you can slot these You can experience whatever the user was experiencing at the time, and then, it usually cuts off at the very last minute before anything really bad is going to happen to whoever's got it plugged in. And so there's probably about 5 of these. And some of them look like they've been recorded while the ship has been in transit.
Oh, sweet. So he's got an actor maybe that's recording this shit.
Well,
or he's doing it. Or he was doing it.
Yeah, until you slot these wafers, you're not going to know.
It's gonna be just hours.
Whether it's an actor or coerced.
You owe it to the investigation, Sarda, to slot it.
We're gonna have to look at this porn, or else we're not gonna.
Yeah,
I don't know that I can. I've got.
Do you need some help being able to be able?
No. I don't have the. I don't know that I've got the ability to slot it. I've got the. I've got the cheaper version of that.
You've got the wafer jack.
Yeah, I've got a wafer jack. I don't have.
I would say that you could probably still view these with a wafer jack. It's just you're not going to get the full effect.
Right.
Whereas with a neural jack, you're going to feel whatever the person is
might
doing.
Be for the best. Might be
right.
Might be for the best.
Right.
But I do have a lot of holographic stuff for editing and things like that. So I might be able to look at these without actually. I don't know. Anyway, the big thing is I'm looking for any type of computer. The big thing I worry about is if he's blackmailing people, he may have kill switches set up so that if he doesn't do something in so many days, this gets released to the ship. You know what I mean? He may.
Yeah, you're not seeing anything like that.
Okay.
This guy's slimy and whatnot, but he's not really that intelligent above that.
He's an opportunistic blackmailer. He's not a professional blackmailer. Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
And so, yeah, the biggest thing is you find these illegal wafer jacks, neural jack wafers. And of course, you also find a number of black market things, packs of cigarettes, like actual tobacco, physical cigarettes, not electronic stuff. You find bottles of booze.
David Anderon's gonna be excited.
I know, right?
Smokes.
Yeah, smokes. You find a number of bottles of liquor, some that look like they were purchased on some of the worlds that you visited. Some of the more higher tech level worlds, like for instance not the last one, but the one before that. The people that Bocephus cloned one of their queens. You find some product from that world, things that he's either stolen or just somehow come across. And not a lot, because the stateroom, as you can see, these staterooms are not huge. So it's not like he has a ton of this stuff, but it's stashed in various places around the stateroom.
All right. Yes, then let's hit up her stateroom.
So the first thing, as she exactly...
It is ironic that the tactic I thought of would have worked if we'd known that it was Psydrug that she was buying from him. The idea of getting a Kim sniffer to look for whatever it was that might be missing. But yeah, we wouldn't have known that it would have been Psydrug, so yeah.
Right.
Cool.
The only downside to it would have been the massive number that you would have had to have scanned in order to finally come up with it.
Sure. All right. So yeah, her stateroom. Sorry.
In her room, you don't find. Well, you do find, of course, the side drugs, and they're exactly in the place where she had said that they would be. But as far as what you find in her room, you find it's pretty much what you would expect from any crewman. There's some personal effects. There are some sketches that she's done. There's an extra, because she's with EVA. There's a extra vac suit that she keeps stored in her locker. That is one of her personal favorites for whatever reason. Maybe it just fits better. Maybe there's some personal changes she's made. But there's nothing in here that you do find, of course, a couple of black market items, which is expected to be found in almost any stateroom aboard the ship.
Yeah.
Aside from that, You don't find anything particularly illegal. You don't find anything that should be stored in, for instance, the armory. Nothing like that.
Which of us was best at communications?
Electronics comms.
Yeah, because that's kind of my weakness when it comes to electronics.
I have electronics comms 1.
I'm pretty solid. I've got 2 on comms.
There you go.
Plus an education of 15. So yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because what I was going to suggest is that you might want to create like text chain between her and the guy who's dead. That basically just him telling her to come to him, and then hers like how we're about to jump, and then I'll open this airlock. You know, the idea of instructing her to take the airlock.
So here's the other question: is that also, does Mel have deception as a skill?
I've got 1 rank.
Nice.
Okay, perfect. So this is going to be kind of a task chain. It would be electronics comms plus intellect or education, and then deception plus intellect or education. So the first one you want to make is electronics comms plus intellect or education, and then we'll see where you land from there. Whew. Okay. Wow. So...
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Like roots level, greatest fantasy.
Yeah, so now on your deception plus education or intellect, you get a +5 to that. Or, I'm sorry, a +3 to that. Because you did this so well.
This is one of those text chains that gets screenshotted and goes viral.
Oh, it gets another 16. So, okay.
I am a smooth motherfucker.
Yeah, so you create this alternate chat log and and you alter the date stamp on it, and your deception is good enough that you take the time to actually read some of her text messages and internal emails and memos, and you mimic her style of writing so that anybody else who looks at this is going to say, yeah, that's from Maia. There's no way it's from somebody else. This has to be legit.
And she's pissed.
Right, and she's clearly upset with Albrand Moss.
Yeah, there you go.
So Bocephus, this is going to be similar. If you're basically going to falsify an autopsy, it would be a medic plus intellect or education, and then we'll see where you land. And to falsify those logs would be a deception plus intellect or education.
Okay. Well, I have no problem using my medic and I don't care if it's education or intelligence. All right, so I'll start out with a 10.
Okay, so that's going to give you a +2 to your deception plus intellect or education.
Got 1 in deception. And I'll do +2 is 4. And 8.
Okay, so you have come up with this. Your autopsy. It's a little hard to deny that the reason why he died is because the back of his head is caved in. But you falsify the log and make it look like the DNA evidence came from him, that he is the Zhodani. So the last part of this is who is going to file this investigative paperwork using an admin plus intellect or education.
I have an admin of 1. So I'll get a +2 on the roll.
I've got,
and I can bump it to a +3 with some creative.
Yeah, I have a total of 2 on admin as well.
And what about Mel?
I've got a admin of the admin you said?
Yes.
3.
Plus total of +3. Oh shit!
Education.
So I guess you want Mel to file the paperwork, is what it sounds like.
I'm a broker.
Mel's got a 15 in education. We basically want him to do anything that has to do with education, as long as he's trained in it.
Right. Yeah, so go ahead and make a admin plus education check. All right. So your team broker has filed the correct paperwork and sent it up the line. The captain and well, of course, the XO goes over it, passes that up on to the captain. So the over the next couple of days, while Maya, you've got Maya tranked and under. What are you doing with her, Mr. Bocephus?
Well, I mean, I'm just first tranking her to, uh, keep her, kind of done. But I want to bring her up, and I want to do, I want to have her restrained on a table,
Okay.
clothed. She's not naked,
I'm not an animal.
but right. But I'll have her restrained on the table, and when she wakes up, I will tell her just to relax and open her mind, and then I want to do I want to take a side drug,
Okay.
and then
You can take one of hers.
oh, I have my own.
Yeah,
I can make them.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Keep yours. I have my own.
I have my own mix, but I'm gonna take a side drug, and then I'm gonna go on and do that probe, and I want to go way down deep in her thoughts.
Okay, so it costs 4 psi points, and you want to do a It's going to be telepathy
check.
plus your psi check, and you need to get a 12 or better.
Yep. So
we've got side drugs.
Right.
Well, that's what I took.
So you
the
could
side
jack
drug
it
for.
with your side drug.
Yeah.
True.
So, that gives me a. Sorry, I don't have all this shit memorized anymore.
What with the side drug? What does that bump you to? Do you know that or?
16.
So 16 gives you a +3.
All right, and I get +2 for telepathy.
Yep.
Okay, but right before I do it, okay, I want to go ahead and I'll spend 1 side point. That'll drop me down to 15.
Okay.
Okay, but I'm going to give myself a +2 on the roll with that awareness skill inspiration.
Okay. So
I'll awareness check first.
yes, awareness. So it will be let me find it. Why are these not in alphabetical order? There we go.
Because
sorry.
you want them.
Right. Yeah. Because that's.
Yeah, it'll cost me 1 side point. I need to roll an average an 8+.
Yep. So it would be awareness plus your psi. Awareness plus psi, and you're looking for an 8+, and you've got a +3.
Yeah, well, I've got a +3, and then my awareness is 2, so
right. Yeah,
that's 5.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's real hard for me to fuck that up.
Okay.
So that gives me a +2 to my next roll.
Yes.
So
and
I'll
at 15, you're still at +3.
Right. So 3, 4, 5.
So it would be a +7 total.
+7, yeah. And then that's for the money 14.
Okay, yeah, that is a deep probe. So initially, when you're probing her mind, you can see that she's going through some rather serious mental anguish. Simply because the fact that this new manufactured personality, you can tell that whoever this Maia Arrich really is manufactured, but you can, beneath all of that, you can see the true Maia of her Zhodani upbringing. What you are seeing as you go in is that all of this is fractured and kind of mingled together. And from what you're from a psioncology standpoint, you are seeing you've seen this kind of, or at least studied this kind of issue before. This is going to cause some rather serious, mental and emotional problems. Maybe it is over here on deck one. Dun, dun, dun. Yep, here's medical base. So you're up on deck one of the science module. So I mean, you can tell that the first thing that you find is that everything that she has told you so far checks out. Ultimately, going through these, her going through her mind is like seeing shattered pieces of glass, and each one that goes by is a bit of her personality and memory, as all of this is kind of flying around you. The one piece that you do find is that the reason for placing her here is that the Zhodani evidently have experienced the Deepnight entity as well. And the thought process with the Zhodani consulate is that placing her here and allowing her to get as much data back as possible, perhaps they can use the Imperium to deal with the Deepnight entity threat without having to actually do it themselves. And yet, they will still benefit from all the knowledge that the Deepnight Revelation crew brings back with them, if that makes sense.
It does. What do you think about me using a telepathy check? That's the communication that sends emotion and basic feelings up in there, and see if I can put some of these scattered pieces back together.
Sure. So this puts
you
you
I'm saying?
at 11, so you would have a +1 on your check.
Yep, that's cool, but telepathy is only a routine 6 check, so
right.
It's still so.
Yeah, you could use telepathy, maybe not necessarily to put this jumble back together, because honestly, you wouldn't even really. You could assist her, but for the most part, putting this fractured mind back together is most of that work is going to have to be done by the patient. You can assist her though, but telepathy, you could at least be able to smooth out her emotional distress over all of these fractured memories and whatnot, helping her to in the future deal with it better.
Well, I got an effective 2.
Yeah, so that would be an average success.
Well, it's a routine check.
Right.
Yeah.
Which gives you an effective +2 is an average success with an 8.
Oh.
And so yeah, you're kind of able to calm her down and give her the ability to kind of deal with this in a better fashion. It would be with an 8. It would be in. Your professional opinion would be that she would have to go through a number of these sessions.
Of course.
And probably future more probing while she is conscious, so that she can you can assist her in putting this back together, or possibly mixing the two and creating the personality and memories that she wants.
We can definitely do that. The main thing is I want her to have access to all of the Zhodani true personality of who she really is. And if she ends up being a hybrid of this construct they use to give her a cover, she probably still needs access to that cover to be able to function on the ship.
Right.
So so that's fine. I'm just I'm flagging her as having a mental breakdown for having to kill a guy, even if it was in self-defense. And right now she's relieved of all duties. I'm keeping her in the med bay under medical observation while I give her severe psychiatric treatment.
Okay. All right, we will break here for the night. Good job, you guys. That went in a direction that you guys coming up with this whole conspiracy and basically hiding the entire thing. Excellent stuff. That I hadn't even really considered that. You solved a lot of problems by by doing a little criminality. So for that, you guys are going to get 2 XP points
Yeah.
that you can spend. Here is your chart on spending those, or you can, of course, save them up to what a maximum of. You can save up to a maximum of 8, since skill level 4 is the highest that I allow in these games.
You say we're having a lot of issues with the crew, just due to being in space for a long time. Is that
Yeah,
what you
it's
said is starting to develop?
basically it's chronic fatigue syndrome, where they're having emotional detriments. It's affecting their workflow. Some of them are starting to develop. I guess you could call them nervous twitches, tics, whatever. Tempers are kind of on edge. The way this whole thing started was with a bar fight over a pool game.
I think I want to take my social sciences from 1 to 2.
That's probably not a bad idea.
I increased my telepathy, and I got a rank in comms because I've been at 0 in comms.
Excellent.
I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do.
Yeah, you can bank it and think about it over the next week.
Well, I mean, especially, I'll be honest with you. With your education, I would make sure that everything that likely uses education is at least trained.
Right?
But
Because a rank is 0 with a +3 education is amazing.
Right.
So
yeah, but on the other hand, 2 points at one time to spend is a little bit more of a rarity.
yeah, that's
And
true.
so I highly advise you take a skill that you're put 1 in
Yep.
and change that to a 2.
Yeah,
Because it's harder to break that barrier than it is just to get 1
that's true.
experience.
That's definitely true as well.
Good point.
So that's
Ooh, I could upgrade my. So, do you guys want me to be a better gunner, or anything like that?
we want you to be the you want to be, buddy.
Yeah.
We are a thoroughly supportive cast of friends. Yeah. You
I-
be the you want to be. That's that's
I
not
will.
even
I will say that in terms of being a gunner, you're more than likely to use that on the Decinex. We ever get to the point where we're using gunners on the big ship, we're in some shit.
Yeah, that's where the shit has really hit the fan.
I've
So,
got
yeah.
turret gunner too.
Are you talking
I
about
mean-
gunner turret, or are you talking about gun combat?
So I was assuming you meant turret.
I mean, I have a 1 in gun turret and gun combat, slug, and energy. I have a 1 in all 3 of those.
Wow.
So, like, one of those could go up to a level 2.
Didn't I give you a slug tosser? A real nice sniper rifle, I believe.
Yeah, at one point he did give you a Gauss sniper rifle. I don't know if you wanted,
I do have a Gauss sniper
Bocephus
rifle.
wanted that back or what.
No, I just went and had another one printed up in the several weeks. This is what I've been doing all this time.
That's true. You've
It's fine.
got the magical fabricator 3D printer
Yeah,
that
Yeah,
just shit out whatever you want.
but I gave
Holy
I
shit.
gave him a gauze sniper rifle and a clip of heap rounds.
In terms of this campaign, we've used our own weapons far more than we've used turrets. And so if I was contemplating which one I'd raise from 1 to 2, I would probably do either my energy or slug, depending on which one I'm more than likely to fire.
Right.
It'll
I would
probably...
take stealth up 1.
What up 1?
Or I take, like, stealth or something up.
Oh yeah, sure. There's you guys are newer characters. Chris is in a weird position where he's now handing out a lot of XP because he's trying to get you guys caught up, but it's doesn't help with us because we're just accumulating more as a result. And so,
Right.
yeah, it's
Sooner or later, you can have.
I actually have to do math to see if I'm getting close to the.
Yeah, you can have as many skills. So the number 1 rule is that no skill can be higher than level 4, and then the second part of that is that you can never have more skill points total in everything than your intellect plus education times 3. So in the case of like Mel, that's going to be a pretty massive number.
Yeah, mine's 57, which is still pretty good, but
Like the
Yeah.
rating or the modifier?
The actual,
Right.
Ranks.
the actual full number. So what,
the ranks, not what you roll, the ranks in your skill that you have in those.
right. The total
Okay.
number of ranks and skills cannot be higher than intellect plus education times 3.
But zeros don't count for shit.
Correct. So if you hit that number and you can't take any more skills for, in the future, whatever reason, you could still take a new skill at level 0 because it doesn't count. That level 0 means that you're competent in the skill. The military would say that you are certified.
So
Don't
I have
take a -3.
I have 34 skill ranks at the moment,
Oh
and
wow.
I
have
cap
a lot of room.
I cap at 57, so I'm still in
Yeah.
good shape.
There's a lot of room, man. I mean, I think I've got a 13 in one and 11 in the other.
I
so
did
that's
have
what,
I did have one
24?
player who his background was a colonist, and he was just your basic your basic belter, and his intellect and education was so low that after like 3 sessions he couldn't increase any more skills because he was so dumb and uneducated that basically everything from there out was going to be zeros. But he was a good pilot. So
Yeah, no, my education is not good, but my intellect is not horrible.
Yeah,
It still takes a lot to get up there. I mean,
I've got an 8 in intellect and an 11 in education, and so yeah, that's
profession.
What's the benefit of increasing like the vac suit?
means
it allows you to use more powerful vac suits. Like if we had battle dresses, you need rank 2, I believe, in
rank
vac
2 in some battle dress, some combat armor is rank 2. Probably not anything too important for the equipment that's aboard Deepnight Revelation, but it can help you in other ways too. Like for instance, if for some reason you get a damaged vac suit where you're leaking, it can help you repair it.
If a GM asks for you to make a vac suit roll, you don't want to fail it.
Yes,
Gosh.
yes.
and if you ever want to sit down and discuss augmentation solutions to your inadequacies, I'm happy to sit down and go over with a wonderful plan to make you.
You're used to Bocephus going, you'd look wonderful with eye stalks. Have you ever considered gills?
Yeah. But no, I mean, I can make your skin thicker and your arms stronger. I can do all kinds of wonderful things, if you're ever interested in getting altered.
So one of the early questions that came up with the XP point system is how do we raise a characteristic? Well, it's unlikely that you would through experience raise a characteristic, in my opinion. The fastest way, of course, to do that would be to do augmentation.
Yep.
I mean
that's
pretty normal.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of beautiful options that have been published that I've accumulated a decent amount of skills that I can, I've got the robotics and I've got the cybernetic skills, I've got the medical skills.
Yeah, he's a pretty good doctor.
Yeah, I can make you $1 million man.
Yeah, he can build you better, faster, stronger.
But I can do it for relatively nothing but some resources.
He can do it for half the cost.
Yeah, yeah. So
he's the Kaiser Permanente of augmentations.
And I have some decent plans already worked up that I've done on other people.
You're making me think I should try and get my dexterity higher.
Oh, I can do that and give you some better eyes. Oh, yeah. You might have,
or I just level up both slug and energy to level, or no.
Chris, I will go through all the blackmail videos. I'm trying to see if I can identify crew members and things like that.
Okay.
I don't want to keep copies of it, but I want them to at least know that the videos exist and they're being deleted, and I will allow them to watch it be deleted in front of them.
Okay.
After you watch them together.
Well, I mean, I mean,
I'm just playing.
somebody's gonna, it's there, it's out there,
Right.
But if he was blackmailing multiple people, I just want to, make sure that they know that those tapes are not out there.
Okay.
And we need to make sure that he didn't have a partner in crime. So I mean,
Well, that's yet another reason for looking through these things too.
yeah.
And it's why inevitably we're going to have to slot that damn shit.
So yeah, next week when we pick up, we will deal with the fallout, or not necessarily fallout, but the aftermath of this, and you turning the blackmail material over to deleting to the people that he was blackmailing. But also, we'll deal with exactly what Mel wants to do with his potential position as being the kind of the top of the black market, if he wants to be, or if he wants to use that to kind of blackmail and keep a thumb on it himself, however he wants to deal with that. So we'll deal with that the first part of the game next week, and then I've got a whole bunch more shit for you guys to do.
Mel, push for replicators. You can make far more black market material with replicator patterns.
That's true. The fabrication units are pretty awesome.
Yeah, I invested rather heavily in making sure we had all that.
Yeah, all that they're dependent on is that you have raw materials to put into them, and beyond that,
we're constantly gathering materials. So
that's true.
Yeah.
All
right.
All right, guys. I will see you.
Talk to y'all later.
Yeah,
have
a good week, guys.
Yeah.
Good luck with
tomorrow.
Good luck with your doctor's situation.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you're talking to him too.
Both of us.
Both of you guys.
Both of you.
Yeah.
Right.
Keep recovering, man.
Yeah.
That's all I can tell you is the best benefit about having, heart stuff is they don't want to check your colon every time they see you. It's just not every time.
Right. Yes.
So, my pants have been staying up. That's pretty good. So.
That's good.
I'm just going to keep using this as an excuse anytime, I can't do that. Blood pressure. So, all right, guys. I will.
Until they hold it against you when you want to do something fun.
Right, exactly, yes. You can't do that. What about your kidneys?
Exactly.
All right, have a good one, guys. I'll see you next week.
Yeah,
Take it easy, guys.
Take care.